So, folks, this is our first. I'm not going to say a podcast. It's going to be a bit of more of a report. It's called the Coole Report, and it's giving people in Rathcoole a voice. And what we're going to do throughout the series of these short interviews is bring people in, people who are in our community and who provide for the community. You never know; it could be you one of these times. But for this is the first show, and we have the one and only Phillip Brett.
Thankfully, there's only one of me, Dee.
Thank God for
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Well, thank you very much for having me. Delighted to be here and
Yeah,
to give that authentic voice to Rathcoole, which you do is just unbelievable. The work that you guys do on a day and daily basis to invest in this community and continue to ensure that Rathcoole is known for all the right reasons. So delighted to be here.
Well, thanks very much. So, we've been putting together some questions. Now, I did ask you, did you want to have a look over, and you said no.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to hit you with them, right?
Perfect.
I'm going to get stuck right in. So, the first question, Phillip, is who is Phillip Brett?
Sometimes I think that when I wake up in the morning too. But yeah, I'm Phillip Brett. I'm the member of the Northern Ireland Assembly for North Belfast, which Rathcoole is a key part of. My backstory is that I grew up in this estate. My great aunt, who was basically my grandmother, looked after me. I was 9 years younger than my brother and sister, so my mum and dad were back at work, and they were at work, and somebody needed to look after me. So my great aunt Edie, who will be known to many listeners, lived in Rathcoole her entire life. So I went to her house every day after school, stayed at her house at the weekends, and it was her that got me interested in politics. She was a Paisleyite, originally from Ballarat Street over near Dr. Paisley's church, and she brought her Paisleyism with her to Rathcoole when the place was first built. So when he came on the television in Aunt Edie's house, everyone had to be quiet and listen to what the man had to say, and that kind of sparked my interest in politics, and how you can get involved and make your community better. I got involved at the DUP at Queen's after I left school because I really believed in Northern Ireland, but believed that our political representatives didn't look like the communities in which we came from. I've seen these men in suits, usually over the age of 60, who I only ever seen at election time, or who I only ever seen on television, and didn't actually see them in our community. So I said, there's no point me sitting back and complaining about these people. Why don't I get involved, see what they do? So I got involved in the party, and I've been very fortunate to have massive opportunities that the party gave to me. I've ran for election for council and was very fortunate to get elected twice. Ran 2 years ago for the assembly at short notice, and thankfully the people of North Belfast voted for me. But that's only the start of the journey. You know, getting elected once is the easy thing. Re-election is the important thing, and that's when you really run on your record. And when I got elected, my view was that I want to give people hope, and I want to give them a bit of excitement that actually politics can make things better for them. That voting makes a difference, and that by voting for a representative who's visible, who's on the ground, and who's trying to make a difference, they can see the impact of their vote. So I'm hoping in the short 2 years that I've been an elected representative, people have started to see a bit of change. Nothing's perfect, but we're on the right road.
I can certainly vouch for that. I mean, going back, you say about the Paisleyites. I remember Paisley coming around in the milk float and shouting, and it did rally everybody up. Have you any thoughts of coming out in the milk float?
No,
No?
I haven't. Politics has kind of changed to the days of, milk floats, the bands coming out and bringing people out to vote. Our people are probably more intelligent, might be the right, but are more rightly demanding of their politicians, and you can't just turn up 3 days before an election and say, right, you need to get out to vote for me to keep somebody else out. You should have a record of achievement of what and why people should be excited to vote for you. You should have a vision for the place that you represent and the people that you speak for, that how you can empower their views into the heart of power and make real and tangible differences. So I look around Rathcoole and see the needs that there are, be that housing, be that community infrastructure, be that supporting the great community organisations like yourselves, and I've started to see that transformation take place. So I can go out to the electorate and say, this wasn't Phillip Brett that achieved this. This was the power of the vote of people of North Belfast who didn't know me from Adam, but took the time out of their day on the 22nd of May 2022 in the pouring rain to cast their vote for me. So when I wake up every day, and sometimes I'm tired than others, but you think people have put their faith in you and they're relying on you to do some work. So get out there and try and make a difference.
Yeah, and you certainly do. I mean, you're non-stop. I mean, I have to say, You talk about people saying come in the door, so you only come here
Mm-hmm.
when you're looking to vote. I know that's true.
Yep.
And you probably know that yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a change there. You're non-stop. You're out there. You're using the social media platforms to because people need to
Yeah.
know. Because people are good enough to mouth off and
Mm-hmm.
say things. You never do this, never do that. But if they were to take the time to look and see what you actually do, you do a hell of a lot.
Well, it's a two-way street. You know, I have to show people what I do, but also when people contact you, you need to. You'll not always get the results that
Yeah,
you want, but the worst thing that a politician can do is encourage people to contact them and then never bother
false
replying.
promises.
False promises. So
Yeah,
I always say to people, I will try my utmost to get the result that you want. It doesn't guarantee that I'll get it. Most occasions, fortunately, we do get that result. Sometimes takes a bit longer than you want, but it's about going through every avenue to try and exhaust that, not simply taking no from the was the first answer
yeah.
and trying to get that result. And people appreciate the fact that you've tried your very, very best for them.
So you left council,
Yep.
and then during that time you were working for Nigel Dodds,
Yes.
the MP.
Yep.
So what did you learn from Nigel? Can you tell us a wee bit about when you were with Nigel and what you
Yeah,
learned?
so I had a great opportunity. I finished university in 2013 in the June of 2013, and Nigel was looking for someone to come and work for him, and I applied and was given the opportunity. We quickly moved into a general election then in 2015, and you know, I'd grown up seeing Nigel on the television, not just hugely respected here in North Belfast and Northern Ireland, but exceptionally for a Northern Ireland politician, actually respected in London. And I suppose the culmination of that was in 2017 when the DUP formed a confidence and supply agreement with the Conservative Party to ensure that Jeremy Corbyn wasn't Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and to ensure that Northern Ireland received that extra £1 billion of investment. And I got to see the work ethic that Nigel had over there in terms of his dedication to Northern Ireland, and trying to get the right result in relation to the EU referendum, trying to ensure that Theresa May's withdrawal agreement and the Irish Sea border wasn't implemented, but also focusing on public services because the Assembly and the Executive were down at that point. Nigel had been a politician in North Belfast since 1985, and the pressures and changes that he'd seen in this constituency, you know, you'll know better than I do, but North Belfast was the epicenter of the IRA's campaign of violence, and he represented some of the most marginalised and difficult communities in North Belfast. This constituency was represented by the Ulster Unionist Party with a 20,000 majority, and no one ever thought that the DUP would ever take the seat. And in 2001, he had one of the biggest swings in parliamentary history. Cecil Walker,
Yep.
who used to spend his time on his yacht out off the south of France, and when my son mum was murdered in North Belfast, he would tell the newspapers to give the same comment that I gave at the last one, and so people really wanted change, and Nigel encapsulated that and worked really, really hard. He lost his seat obviously in 2019, but the time that he invested in me and that public service, but also constituency focus, is something that set me in huge stead. And I was actually out for dinner with Nigel there on Monday, just catching up. Now Lord Dodds, so he keeps me right and tells me
Yeah.
the things, you know, keep grounded, focus more and more on the people that vote for you, because you know storming's important. It's important to make your speeches up there, but ensuring that people get their housing, people get the investment that they need is much more important. So continue to focus on the people.
So Nigel was the MP and was placed by John Finucane, the Sinn Féin guy. However, a lot of people will say that in North Belfast they feel for us from the PUL community that they can't approach because he's not there in Westminster
Yes.
to represent in the corridors and having chit chats
Yep.
and behind the scenes. Isn't really representing people of North Belfast, and that's coming from a lot of people that I would speak to. I did say you were coming on today, and I had spoke to a lot of people, and I went around different age groups and things, and we've had discussions about it, and people have said about MPs they should be in Westminster. What's your views on that?
So, listen, I fundamentally disagree with Sinn Féin's approach that they stand for election but don't fulfil their parliamentary duty. We've seen in many parliaments that 1, 2, 3, 4 votes makes all the difference. We have benefit cuts taking place. We had no member of parliament for North Belfast to vote against those. We had tens of thousands of pensioners across North Belfast, not just unionists but nationalists, who lost their winter fuel allowance as a result of the the decisions by the Labour government, and North Belfast had no voice or no vote against that proposal. I ran against John Finucane at the last general election and lost, and I have to accept that was the democratic outcome of the people of North Belfast. But every day I'll continue to highlight the failings of him and of his party.
Yeah, I think there's a shift. And I think when you're on social media and we see you up speaking, one of the big things at the minute is about the legal immigration. And you're being very vocal there. Your colleague, Jonathan Buckley, as well, is vocal. But I think it's something that everybody's talking about this. I mean, Rathcoole, people in Rathcoole, they're worried. They're seeing what's going on in Dublin. They're seeing what's going on in England. And when they come out to do something, they maybe don't do it the right way. Probably like myself years ago. Should have thought before I done things, get myself into trouble. But I think it's down to you guys are the people who are elected in there to represent them. And if they're the issues, the likes of illegal immigration, so what would you say to people watching this today? What are you doing about that, and how are you representing their concerns?
And you're completely right. I get contacted all the time, not just by those who would traditionally have voted for me, but from right across the constituency and right across Northern Ireland, because it's an issue that I speak about a lot, is the issue of uncontrolled and illegal immigration. Our media and some of our political class who are disconnected from the people that they represent have managed to get us into a situation where people who say that we need to secure our borders is a controversial statement. They try to say by people who were born here, who invest here, or who have gone through the right channels to come here and work in our NHS or open a business, that they should put the interests of those people first is a controversial statement. Nowhere else in the world would it be a controversial statement to say that if anyone's coming to their country, they need to do it legally, or that those who are born here should be looked after by their government. Like, that's not a controversial statement.
No,
but
it's not,
the media and some elements of political parties have tried to make that into a controversial statement, and people have then become afraid or worried about speaking out about the issue, because as soon as they raise legitimate or genuine concerns, you're a racist. But being concerned about the safety of your family is not a racist act. Being concerned that the community that you grew up in, your child cannot be housed in it now because of the pressures on the infrastructure is not a racist statement. And to have schools flowing over at the gills or hospital appointments not being able to get is not a racist statement. It's simply saying that, unfortunately, the United Kingdom is at a stage now where we are full, and that if anyone is coming to this country, they need to add to the country, be that economically, be that by new skills. But people who are turning up here and have no plans to contribute to society, have travelled through other safe countries to get to the United Kingdom. That's not a controversial statement. And we've now seen in both the Republic of Ireland and in mainland GB that all political parties have now finally woken up to that issue. You know, the Home Secretary today is going to set out changes to a ridiculous situation that if someone comes to the UK illegally, claims asylum, they can then bring their family here. Like, that just wouldn't happen in any other country in the world.
I mean, coming to a country, you should, first of all, communication should be one of the first things. You should be able to speak English. Look at the money's been spent on interpreters in hospitals and things. You know, and that's bound to add up to a lot of money. Coming here too with no skills, nothing to give, and a lot of those people come and they're being given benefits, where our own young people, like I'm a granda, I've got my kids, I worry for them, and out working all my days, and then going to hopefully retire at a good age, healthy, and be able to sit back. But all my years working, same as everybody else, is then being handed to other people, and our families and kids are not getting the benefits of that.
And that's a huge difficulty. You know, housing's the single biggest issue I deal with on a daily basis, and I continue to see an increase of people who have lived in private rented accommodation for a long time. Their landlords are giving them a termination of their lease, and they're then taking up a contract with the Home Office to move in people who have entered the United Kingdom illegally to then be housed in those houses. They then have the private rented sector prices going up, which can't be afforded by local families. You have more pressure on the social housing system, and we're just at a situation now where unless you're going to contribute to this society, the message needs to be you shouldn't come here.
Yeah. Well, a wee question here. So, Rathcoole being a socio-economic area of deprivation, people out of work, low income employment, and then we're looking at landlords. So someone that grown up in this community, lived here all their life, their family structure, their support network, their friends, everybody's here, are being forced to move away because they're maybe on a low income job if they're lucky enough to get a job.
Yep.
And they're out. And then somebody who maybe has 4 or 5 houses, lives in England, got a fill in Spain, and they own these houses in Rathcoole. So one on Ballyroden Park, £750 for a 3-bedroom.
And that's probably one of the lower examples. Some of them we even see in parts of North Belfast for a 2-bedroom house are now up to £1,000 a month.
This all started, wasn't it, back then? Maggie Thatcher's like giving people opportunities to buy their homes off the housing executive and things. But do you not think something like where what we're seeing now changes that? It's not local people being able to get onto the ladder and have a wee home, affordable home. It's people using it as a greed.
Yeah.
You know, buying up as many as they can, making money off the people of this community. This community and like many other communities. Would there not be a way of looking at this where the housing executive could go, and if you don't own a house and live in it, that they should buy it back off them at the price they got and allow local people in to live in a house overseen by a house association or the housing executive?
Yeah, so with a couple of changes to be made, so housing associations can no longer sell homes to tenants to remove them from the stock. The biggest change in terms of housing executive properties now, we're in a situation where they can only be bought by those who currently live in them, and if they then go on to sell them or to move on, they then have to repay that. So we have had some important changes on that. What you tend to see is that these houses that are being privately rented out have been bought many, many years ago before these changes were in place. But we now have, thankfully, some good investment in terms of housing now in Rathcoole. So bottom of the estate at the former school site, 124 new homes just behind us here. We have new houses on site as well, and part of those at the bottom of the estate was for first time buyers, so affordable houses, 125,000 for 3-bedroom houses, and they went like that. So it's about trying to get that mixed tenure as well, because there's a lot of people, as you'll know, Dean, in Rathcoole who want to remain in the estate but they want to buy their own home.
Yeah.
And they don't want to always be in social housing, so it's about having affordable housing as well that people can buy.
And they're quite good houses down there.
They're very good houses, better than mine.
Yeah. Future houses, aren't they? They're all set up for the future. Is there any other developments being in the area? Is there any more being planned?
Yeah, so bottom of the estate's done, as I say. The former Gilday site is now currently on site. There's planning permission going in for a bit of vacant land at the Old Irish Highway now as well. But we're now at a situation where we thought we would never see in Rathcoole, is that we're getting close to most of the green space and land is now being developed. So Rathmullen Drive, you'll remember, the former bonfire site now has Apex houses on it. Campaign that you were heavily involved in, Dee, of the Old Irish Highway. You'll remember the apartments there that blighted that community for years and years and years, now completely redeveloped, and local people and local families living in that. The big battle will continue to be in relation to the tower blocks behind us. So you'll be aware, and you've been involved in the campaign to fight this, is that the housing executive are trying to demolish Abbott School House, which houses 60 local families, at a time when we don't have enough housing provision here in the estate to knock those down. Is just crazy. If they want to look at trying to have more modern houses, there's land out the back of that, so build that first, rehome those people in there, and then we can have that discussion. But I'm not going to get into a discussion about knocking down homes, because we've seen in other parts of North Belfast, particularly along the Shore Road, that houses were knocked down, families were promised that they could return to those homes, and 30 years later the land's still sitting vacant.
So where do them people go?
They've gone from Carrick, Fergus, Newton Ards, all over, and that's why you've seen some of the demographic shifts in North Belfast, because I think for a long time there was deliberate actions taken by the housing executive to depopulate parts of Unionist North Belfast.
Engineered that way.
Yeah, and we've now started to fight back against them.
That's good. So I'm going to ask you a wee bit about education now. Right, so obviously it's not your colleagues, the Minister for Education, but it feels like our education system's geared towards those aiming the top grades in university. And I believe that we need more support for students who have different paths and skills. So we've got academic achievers.
Yep.
And we also, the only thing we have in this area is you go to school and if that's not for you, well, where do you go?
Yeah.
The other thing is special education. So you have Rostella and different schools. So that's really what we have, is Rostella or go to school. there's people there falling through the gap, who aren't academically achieving, and they didn't wake up last week
Yep.
and get results.
Yep.
But some of those young people are the most talented and the most skillful young people there is when it comes with the creative industries. Do you believe that there needs to be something put in place, like areas like this? We have a lot of creative people,
Yeah.
and you can see through the work that we do here, and the development of our new relaunch hub that we're looking at setting up. Is this something you feel is creating that gap? You know, there's a void there for those young people.
No, 100%. Like the young people involved here are much more talented than I am. You know, I went through a traditional path of going to a grammar school, going to university. But did it change anything that I didn't know beforehand, except give me £20,000 a debt? But we looked upon that as you're a failure if you didn't go to a grammar school, and you're a failure if you didn't go to the university. But I look in here, or programs and projects right across North Belfast, and there's young people who are doing things that I still can't do. You know, their involvement in the creative industries, they're making Hollywood movies. Here you're producing content that's up to studio standard that could be used anywhere in the world, producing amazing mugs like these that, put people to shame. And I'm glad that now as a party we've changed our focus from saying not just that, our grammar skills need to be great, but it needs to be great for every young person, regardless of their academic ability. But they have so much more to add. That's where the growth sectors are, in the creative industries, in IT and in digital development. And that's why, the RAISE program, which it's just coming out, is basing that funding outside of schools, because school environment is important and we need to continue to support our schools, but there's so many young people who aren't in that formal educational setting, and they need to get the support and increase in capacity that they deserve. And that means, like the community classroom type approach that you guys have been doing for so long and continuing to be expanded upon is focused upon, because Rathcoole neighbourhood renewal area, but for 20 years have we seen any great changes in educational achievement despite the funding that has been pushed into it? And that's why
Still a super input area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why looking at these community providers, because you know the people better than someone who's a formal educator but drives into the estate and drives out. They don't have the same interest, they don't know the same people, they don't have a look at each young person and see them not just as a statistic, but they know what makes them tick. They know their family. He may not be interested in this, but if you put him in front of this, or game development, like he can do it. He might not be able to write you a speech, but he can certainly produce a
develop
a game, which is for him. So it's about having people that are based within the community, focusing on the community, and it's exactly what you're doing here.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you one more question.
Yes.
Well, actually, we're going to go to a quick question, right? Because that question you already answered earlier, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to do a quick question, right? I want you to answer these as quickly as possible, all right? Don't want you really thinking about them.
No problem.
All right, so what does NACN stand for?
Newton Abbey Art and Cultural Network.
Very good. What is your favourite marching band?
Pride of the Shore.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Get more sleep.
If you weren't a political representative, what would you be?
I'd want to be a footballer following Northern Ireland, save me some money rather than
spending
a big supporter of Northern Ireland.
So what brings more money into the economy? Music, film or games?
I'm going to say economy will be games.
Games is right. Brings in more than then combined. Music and film, yeah. So do you have a secret talent?
Secret talent? I can drink beers pretty quickly when I'm away at my football matches.
Down the hatch?
Yeah.
Yep. What size are your feet?
12.
12s? Yeah. What did you have for dinner last Wednesday?
Last Wednesday? Actually, I had the communities minister around for dinner last Wednesday because I'm trying to get him to fund some projects in North Belfast. We've got him a Caesar salad he got.
Lovely. Right, so how many pairs of boxer shorts do you own?
Far too many. I get given off at home because I have too many clothes. So
too many?
Too many.
You like going out to be spending?
Exactly.
Spree, yeah. So if you could be any other politician, who would it be?
Any other politician? I'd be the Prime Minister, sort him out because he's not very good at the minute.
No, he's not. Sure, he's not. We actually wouldn't call him a politician.
Yeah, exactly.
Prime Minister. So how many potholes are there in Rathcoole?
It'd be easier to say how many roads don't have potholes on them, because that would be
probably
zero.
Would, yep. What's your favourite chippy?
Favourite chippy? That's hard to beat the hungry hound, isn't it?
It really
if you're
is,
in Rathcoole.
especially when you work above it.
Exactly.
Hence the
Yeah,
stairs.
no.
Right, can you do the worm?
No. But I did try to learn it. I used to be a big wrestling fan when I was growing up, so Scotty Too Hotty. I did try to do it, but still can't do it.
No, bit of practice.
Exactly.
Okay, get down to one of our workshops.
You're right, I
then.
will.
So, growing up, who was your idol?
My idol was my great aunt. Great aunt Edie, as I said, she grew up in Rathcoole. She never had any children of her own, but she had that work ethic. Went out every single day. Used to work in the abattoir just down the road here, just so she could put together the money to buy her own house. And
Where was that? Way up there?
yeah,
Oh,
she
yeah.
worked in there. She was the first woman to ever work in it, and
Right.
she said that's what she needed to do to afford to look after her family. So she went and worked there overnight shifts. So she taught me hard work, dedication, and be proud of where you came from.
Okay. So, why do local people find it hard to get housed?
Lack of supply
Okay.
is the key issue, but also navigating the point system. So our people and our politicians up until now haven't been good enough at maximising points awards for our people, and explaining to them how you go about ensuring that you get a house, because you need to be in the best position to get those points, and that's what we need to work on.
Okay, so the last question
Yes.
is, what is your favourite musical, and why is it your favourite musical? That's two questions.
That's
Really.
two questions. Musical. I shouldn't say I'm not a big fan of musicals when I'm in here, but so A Beautiful Game was a play that was produced by Andrew Lloyd Webber, and when my brother was murdered in 2001, he dedicated that play to our family and
very nice.
and raised money for my
Didn't know
dad.
that.
Yeah, my dad's aunt who had an orphanage out in Nigeria, so he donated all the proceedings to that. So it'll have to be that one.
Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
Very
He had
good.
us all over to the opening night of it. So Beautiful Game it was called, based on
Beautiful
on
Game.
Yeah, based on Northern Ireland.
Just look at that.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up.
Yes.
But just before we do, I want to basically, what would you say to people? So we know when people are coming out to vote,
Yep.
the vote's always way down in around these areas. What would you say to people about getting out to vote and the importance of it? And what would you say to them?
So what I always say to people is that regardless if you vote or not, you're going to have a politician that represents you. And do you want a politician who is accessible? Do you want someone who's going to speak on the concerns that you have, and someone who's actually going to fulfill the promises that they make to you, and that they can genuinely get up and say that they speak for you? So by sitting at home, you're allowing those people who you believe don't speak for you, don't work for you, and don't deliver for your community to claim that they represent you. And that's why we have a situation where the Member of Parliament for North Belfast, John Finucane, can claim to be the MP for Rathcoole. He has never stepped foot in this estate in his entire life.
There you are, folks. When you're thinking voting comes round, you know you've got someone that represents you. You know someone's going to be there fighting your corner. The man himself, Phillip Brett. And I
Thank you
just
very much
like to
indeed.
say, Phillip, thank you so much
No
for
problem.
coming.
And keep up the great work. You're a
Thank you
star.
very much.
Thank
And
you
this is
indeed.
our first show.
Yeah,
we hope to see you on some more.
Definitely. Thank you so much indeed.
Thanks very much.